Say what you want about Iowa, but this team is consistent. The Hawkeyes have had 11 straight winning seasons and just completed their third 10-win season in the last 5 years. But now that the Big Ten no longer has divisions, can the Hawkeyes keep it up in 2024? So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. So glad you could join us today to break down the Iowa Hawkeyes, their schedule, their prediction for this upcoming season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, some of the best spread picks in the country for one of the lowest prices in the country. Take advantage of those guys. The earlier you sign up for them, the better, the more exclusive content you get. The same with our exclusive newsletters over on thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those to take advantage of it and get your fill for this college football season and make the season even better for you from now all the way through January. So let's take a look at the Hawkeyes, guys. Look, I mean, it's so funny to me. You know, this team, you hear it all. They're boring. They're hard to watch, and some of those statements may be true, but yet they keep winning. Even for Iowa fans, it's so hard to watch this team, but you can't really complain too much when you're winning games. Man, another 10-win season, another Big Ten championship appearance, but you know when they go to those Big Ten championships, they stand no chance, just like they had no chance last year when they fell to Michigan. But this team, guys, might even be better than last year. So many changes on both sides of the ball, but also a lot of experience coming back. Offense, that's what's been holding them back, right? It's the offense that's been so bad, so terrible, that if Iowa just had even a mediocre offense, they could have been college football playoff contenders the last couple of years. But last year, 15.4 points per game. That's all they mustered. 235 yards per game. All they were able to achieve. 119 passing yards per game. 116 rushing yards per game. It was absolutely terrible. But I'm not saying Cade McNamara would have made the biggest difference in the world, but McNamara was supposed to come in at quarterback and save the day. He got injured before the season even started, tried to push through, but it was out for the year in week 5. So if he had played a full season, maybe Iowa has a better offense. I don't know. But regardless, he's back. He's fully healthy. They should have much better quarterback play and much better play calling, period. They got a new offensive coordinator, finally. Tim Lester in as the OC. Former Western Michigan head coach from 2017 to 2022. I think he's going to do very well there. LaShawn Williams is back at running back, over 800 rushing yards last season, along with Caleb Johnson, who rushed for over 450. They do lose their top 2 pass catchers, but Caleb Brown does return. He's going to be the leading wide receiver there. And the offensive line, very strong this year. 154 starts back combined. They allowed 32 sacks. Pretty uncharacteristic for a Kirk Ferentz-led team. Should be drastically better in 2024. If you look at Iowa, guys, this team was shut out 3 times last year. They were shut out 3 times to Penn State, Michigan, and Tennessee in their bowl game. That's not going to happen again this year. At least it shouldn't, if they can take the steps necessary. The defense, elite as always. We can't say enough good things about Iowa's defense. They have not allowed over 20 points per game in a season since 2015. And that's an unreal stretch. Nearly 10 years of not allowing your opponents to go over 20 points per game. Last year, they allowed just 14.8 points per game and gave up just 283 total yards per game. Now, 8 starters are back, including 7 of their top 8 tacklers, led by arguably the best linebacking core in the nation. Linebackers Jay Higgins, who had 171 tackles last year, and Nick Jackson, 110 tackles last year, both returning to anchor this defense. Sebastian Castro returns after 3 interceptions last year. The defensive line is very solid after posting 33 sacks last season. And the secondary, very underrated and can be better than you think, even with the loss of Cooper DeJean, who was also a fantastic specialist. But this defense, guys, allowed just 20 points, over 20 points last year, 3 times to Penn State, Michigan, and Tennessee, which were also the games that Iowa was shut out in. So they got shut out in those games and allowed over 20 points in those games. Everybody else, they held under that. This is a team that, once again, has the talent and the schedule to have a fantastic season if they can take the necessary improvements, and we believe they will. Take a look at the schedule. We said no divisions. Can Iowa hang in there? Because in theory, no divisions. They're not playing in the weak Big Ten West. It should be a little bit tougher for them. That didn't happen this year. The toughest game they've got is Ohio State. They avoided Michigan. They avoided Penn State. They avoided Oregon. I mean, what a break. What a break for the Hawkeyes. And you take a look. I think they opened up with a win against Illinois State. 1-0. To me, the season comes down to the first 5 games of the year. And really, it's 3 games in that stretch. Iowa State, Minnesota, Ohio State. Those are the 3 biggest games on their schedule because everything else after that is really, really favorable. So their first big test of those three is in week 2 at home against Iowa State. Last year, the Hawkeyes survived 20-13, but the last 4 meetings between these two teams in the Cy-Hawk Trophy game, last 4 meetings have been decided by 5.3 points per game. A lot of one-possession wins in there, including an Iowa State 3-point victory the last time these teams played in Iowa City. And look at Iowa State this year. They are an underrated squad. I think right now they've got the better offense in Iowa, no doubt about that. They've got an experienced quarterback in Rocco Beck. They've got a great wide receiver core, some great running backs. Teams that kind of overachieved last year. The defense is one of the best in the Big 12. So this is going to be a low-scoring game, low-scoring defensive game. But Iowa State is not scared of Kinnick Stadium, one of the most difficult places to play in the country, and the Cyclones aren't afraid of it. They have the offensive advantage. They have the defense that can hang with Iowa. They're not scared of being on the road. They get the win over Iowa. And yes, I know that the Hawkeyes have really dominated this series over recent years, but I think Iowa State is just that good. And I think Matt Campbell's squad comes in, breaks that streak as Iowa's still trying to figure things out with their new coordinator. They get the win, but then Iowa wins their next 2 games over Troy and Minnesota. Those were tough for me. Minnesota really was tough for me. That was a back-and-forth game on my end. Last year, Iowa lost to Minnesota in controversial fashion, 12-10 last year. Cooper DeJean had a fantastic punt return. Would have won the game for Iowa, but they said he called a fair catch. You be the judge of that. Go back and watch the film. It was really, really close, really controversial. I personally think Iowa should have won that game. I thought the fair catch call was bogus, but I digress. You look at Minnesota now. This is a team that obviously should be improved. Max Brosmer comes in at quarterback. They've got a great running back. They've got some great wide receivers coming back, and the defense is typically very strong under P.J. Fleck. It's a tough game for me, truly 50-50, because I think Minnesota owns the offensive advantage in this game. I think they own home field advantage, obviously, but I think Iowa's defense and just the boiling blood of revenge is ultimately what does it in for the Hawkeyes. I think they're able to go on the road and steal a win over Minnesota, who prior to last year's controversial loss, Iowa had won 8 straight over. So I think Iowa survives the Golden Gophers on the road, but barely. But barely. Would not be shocked to see a loss there. They come out of the bye week. They take on Ohio State and Columbus. They'll lose that game. Obviously, nowhere near having the offense to hang with the Buckeyes. Not going to happen. The defense can hold their own, but the Ohio State defense is arguably the best in the entire country. So they will lose to Ohio State out of their bye week, and we've got them at 2-2. And one last note on that Minnesota thing. I just know a lot of people are going to go, how dare you think the game's even going to be close? How dare you even struggle with that mentally? Look, guys, Iowa had won 8 straight prior to last year's loss, but 6 of those 8 wins were by 1 possession. Minnesota's been really, really close, unable to get over the hump. They did last year thanks to some favorable calls. That's why this game, I think, once again, could be very close because the Golden Gophers should improve. So I want to throw that out there. This is not a dominated series. Iowa's getting the wins, but they're very, very close. So coming out of that, guys, 2-2, and we said it was very favorable after that. Why? Look at who they've got left. Again, avoiding some of the top dogs in the Big Ten was insane by the schedule makers. This Iowa defense is what has carried them over the last few years, right? It's been the main reason they've had so many 10-win seasons, so many Big Ten championship appearances, right? That's because of their defense. And this defense has an opportunity to be even better than they were last year. And if you look at who they're up against, they're facing a Washington team that has everybody gone offensively from last year's national runner-up squad. They're going to beat Washington, a team that's still got to figure things out offensively. They're going to cruise past Michigan State, who has a terrible offense. The defense may not be that bad, but they have a lot of questions they got to answer on offense in year 1 under Jonathan Smith. They're going to play Northwestern, who somehow won 8 games last year. Northwestern and Iowa were very similar. Neither had a very good offense. Their defenses carry the teams, and they both ended up having fantastic seasons. Northwestern winning 8 games, Iowa winning 10. They're going to beat Northwestern, though, at Kinnick Stadium. Wildcats still having a horrible offense, going to take a major step back. So 3 games in a row where they play some of the worst offenses in the Big Ten. The Hawkeyes cruise past all of them. Then they take on Wisconsin. Well, they get that game at home. Typically a game in recent years where the winner of that would win the Big Ten West, or at least be in the front running in the driver's seat of the West. Last year was no exception. Wisconsin definitely had a disappointing year, but last year, Iowa went on the road to Madison as a 9-point underdog, nearly 10 points, and won 15-6. Granted, Wisconsin was battling injuries and things like that, but regardless, Iowa came in there and did their job behind the strength of their defense, winning by nearly 10 points on the road, almost a reverse cover there. Iowa's going to beat Wisconsin this year. I think the Badgers are better in year 2 under Luke Fickell, but they've got a very difficult schedule that it might not show. Hopefully they can stay healthy this year, but at Kinnick Stadium, behind the strength of this defense, I still don't have that much faith in Wisconsin's offense as of right now. So Iowa gets the job done. They beat Wisconsin. They beat UCLA, who's in a first-year head coach and has some questions on both sides of the ball. Yes, a long road trip, no doubt about it, but the Bruins going to be struggling for the majority of this year, especially with one of the most difficult schedules in the country. Coming out of their bye week, they take on Maryland, another team that has offensive struggles. A team that lost Talia Tagovailoa and has to go with M.J. Morris, who only had 4 starts as a quarterback during his time at NC State. Yeah, the Terrapins might get get it rolling as the season goes on, especially this late in the year, but offensively, I don't think they're going to have enough to exploit. They're not explosive enough to exploit this Iowa defense. The Hawkeyes will do just enough to get their offense in position to score some points against Maryland, whose secondary has the biggest concerns defensively. Maybe a game where Cade McNamara delivers. They beat the Terrapins, and then senior day against Nebraska, they've won 8 of the last 9 against the Cornhuskers, including a 13-10 win last year. An absolutely crazy game over the last quarter, let's say the last 5 minutes. But Iowa, now at home, senior day for them. Nebraska's going to be drastically improved. Both these defenses are really, really good. I'm excited to watch this game. But at the end of the day, I have a lot of faith in Iowa's defense over a younger Nebraska offense. Dylan Raiola getting a lot of hype and excitement surrounding him at quarterback. But can he come into Kinnick and deliver? I don't think so, not in year 1, especially with home field advantage on Iowa's side. The Hawkeyes continue their dominance over their rival, win 9 of the last 10, and clinch another 10-win season. Again, guys, that schedule is so good. Iowa may not be great. They might struggle mightily offensively again, but their defense is going to be one of the best in the country. They're going to take care of business against all of those weaker opponents in the back half of their schedule. The season really, truly is made in the first 5 games. Iowa State, Minnesota, Ohio State. How they fare in those 3 will really dictate where they're at the end of the year. I think they can get to 10-2. Iowa State's a loss. Ohio State's the other. That means only 1 conference loss, meaning Iowa, despite the newcomers to the Big Ten, despite no divisions, the Hawkeyes will be in contention for a Big Ten title once again under Kirk Ferentz. And if things really go their way, could be flirting with a spot in the 12-team college football playoff. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, home to our weekly newsletters. We want you to take advantage of all those things. Sign up for them now and become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.